Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about how to overcome overeating or binge eating with mental tools, mindset tools. So first and foremost, binge eating and overeating are not the same thing. However, I really think that a lot of the root causes can be similar, and I'm going to be going into those today, but I wanted to set the record straight. Second of all, I ask you that if you're watching this video and you've experienced these problems before or you are dealing with them, implement this. You can get so much information online, but what I'm going to share with you is really something that I've created and I've used with clients and that I would love to see you really implement in your life, okay? And then the last thing is that it's really important to keep in mind that I am not about surface level solutions. I am all about going deeper than surface level, getting to the root of the problem and addressing it there. What does that mean? I'm not going to give you nutrition advice in order to solve a problem that happens within, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about why this happens, okay? So first of all, this can happen to anybody. I've seen it happen to people who thought it would never happen before. I've seen it happen to people who are like, I've never had those problems, I'll never have it. I've seen people have it, it's not going to be something I deal with. And yet they do. I've had it happen to me too. I remember one time after a competition, I was like, it's not going to be my problem. I'm not going to have that as an issue. I'm going to be fine. And it happened. But luckily, I have the tools and resources and was able to overcome it. And that is a big reason why my passion is so deeply rooted in helping other competitors build more than just a body, right? Make peace with food, their body, and their goals. So here's the thing that we have to understand about overeating or about binging, right? What happens when we think about food, and I could go into what we believe is going to impact our identity and it's going to impact all these other things that I'm going to be getting into real soon. But I want to take it a little bit further, right? When we think about food, we're actually creating a reward response in our mind. And it's because it's a reward for taking a natural action. Eating is a natural action. We have to eat. So our brain actually rewards us for doing so. But what happens is when we think about food, especially carb-heavy food, dopamine is being released like crazy. And then when we eat it, even more dopamine is being released. And this is a lot of the reasons why sometimes while you're in that overeating or you're in that binge, you're like, oh, it's fine, I'm enjoying this is great. Or I don't know, you're not thinking about stopping, you're just thinking about eating. And it's because you're in a place where all those neurotransmitters are like, this is good, reward yourself, this is a good thing. You should be happy you're eating a lot, right? So that's why we tend to then feel bad later because that action isn't actually aligned with our identity. And I think a lot of people try to blame overeating or binging on meal plans. And while I definitely don't think you can solve it with a meal plan, I also don't believe it's necessarily a cause. We can't deny the statistics that say that the more we restrict, the more we desire, right? We can't deny those stats that have shown that that's a big trigger for people. But I don't think we can completely attribute it to that. And here's why. Not everybody who follows a clean eating meal plan or goes without having a certain amount of foods or types of foods for a long period of time struggles with this. So it's not always because of a clean eating meal plan. It's not always because you didn't have XYZ food for a certain amount of time. And it's not always because you just don't have the willpower anymore. Trust me, so many competitors think, oh, I just don't have the willpower like I did when I was on prep because I don't have a date in mind. It's not true. Everything you need is within you, and I'm going to show you how we can identify those things and use them for this circumstance. I actually created an acronym, and that acronym is BINGE, B-I-N-G-E, okay? So B stands for beliefs. I is identity, N is naming, G is gaps, and E is energy, okay? So this acronym is really to identify the things that I think can be a lot of the root causes for these types of actions, overeating, binge eating, etc. And I also want to share, you can overeat and not feel bad about it. You can binge and not feel bad about it. The reason we feel bad about it is usually because of these reasons, okay? And that's what I'm getting into. It's important to identify that this is not about all overeating, because for some people there's no such thing, right? And trying to control what you're doing is essentially creating a new plan. So I could go on and on, but I want to get to the root of this. So B for beliefs, meaning the things that you believe about yourself or the world around you and the actions you're taking, all that. Identity really comes down to how you see yourself. So maybe your identity is that of a bikini competitor. Maybe your identity is that of a fitness enthusiast or a mom or whatever occupation you're in, right? And that's your identity. So then all the actions you take are going to align you with that identity. And then naming, this comes down to the way we label foods, the way we label actions, the way we label behaviors, thoughts, etc. Bad, good, terrible, sabotaging, things like that. So the things that we name those actions and behaviors and thought patterns and foods and all that. And then gaps is a representation of the voids in our life, or the feelings of void that represent where we are and where we want to be, and maybe where there's a void that's keeping us from fulfilling that. And then, so that would create a gap, right? And then E is energy. So energy meaning the power we give, the things that we're doing, the actions we're taking, the behaviors, the thoughts, all of that. So I'm hoping that makes sense, and I'm going to make sure all of this is written up for you so you can refer back to it, and I'll create like a little infographic for you. But this is what I believe is really causing the binging or causing the overeating. If we have a negative belief about ourselves, that turns into an identity disconnect, right? So let me go into this. If we believe that as a bikini competitor, our identity, we need to always be on point, tracking everything or measuring everything or only following a plan, because that's what we did for all our prep. And now let's say we're in off season and we're not doing that anymore, and we start to feel guilty, right? And then that leads to more overeating or more binging. This is where the beliefs and the identity and the naming and the gaps and the energy all come into play. And I'm hoping you can see that as well. So the beliefs coming down to how you believe a bikini competitor, the identity should be, or how you should be acting, or the action taking, what they mean. Identity being bikini competitor, right? Maybe your identity for so long was bikini competitor on prep. That's what happened to me. I was for so long, I'm on prep. And then as soon as I'm in off season, it was like, okay, now I have to literally transition my identity into this person who's in off season, because now the actions don't align that were once for prep. That doesn't make sense for the goals that I have now. And then the naming came down to the foods, right? This isn't good. This isn't a good food, but it's a food. And some people might interject and be like, that's why you should follow if it fits your macros. Not necessarily. I have seen and I've worked with plenty of girls who follow if it fits your macros and still struggle with this. Why? Because it's not just about the food. Again, that's a surface level solution to a much deeper problem. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches, right? So rather than going into that tangent, just want to be very clear, a meal plan will not solve these problems, okay? Next, this going off of the same example, you're naming things and then you go into the gaps. So then let's say you're overeating and you're trying to fill this void in your life of not feeling validated or not feeling enough or not feeling like you're accomplishing things. And that gap is showing up because the identity you have is not aligned with the actions you're taking. So now there's a gap. So then you're trying to fill that gap, but you're not filling it with the proper actions because your beliefs and your naming are not supportive of that. Okay. And then when it comes down to energy, it's all about the energy you give it. If you follow, let's say, a really clean eating meal plan and your energy is, I love this, I'm nourishing my body, this is why I'm doing it, versus I need to eat really clean because I hate the way my body looks and this is the only thing that'll work. Very different energies. And I'm hoping you can feel that as well as I'm expressing it. So energy really comes down to the power we're giving these things that we're doing or practicing or thinking about. So let's say we have a thought in our mind that comes up, like let's say we ate something not on plan, and then our energy we give it is like, oh, that was a horrible mistake, I totally messed up today, I guess I should just restart tomorrow. And then it becomes a free for all the rest of the day, and then you feel bad because now you've been binging all day, you haven't been giving your body at all what it needs, and you're not even acting as the person, the identity you have of yourself or see yourself as, which is bikini competitor, which is mom, or which is fitness enthusiast, whatever it may be, right? This can apply to anything, really. But in specifically to overeating and binge eating, we have to be aware of the deeper triggers, the deeper problems. It's not just like someone puts a plate of food in front of you and you're just like, I'm going to eat it all. Because if that was the case, you'd always do that. Something happens, something is happening that's causing that. Like I said earlier, sometimes it's not about the beliefs. It's literally so many neurotransmitters rewarding you for that action, and then you continue to take it, right? So we have to combine, or at least I like to combine, like that metaphysical with the physical, right? The belief systems, the thought patterns, which we know from science actually do play a role in how we feel and the way we think and the way we act. So, with all of this being said, how do we actually overcome it? We address those things, the BINGE, those 5 things. We have to address them. Identify where there's a problem, where there's a disconnect, and that is how we can overcome it. And this is something that I love to help my clients with, and I've worked with plenty of women through doing so that they can achieve food freedom and make peace with food, their body, and their goals. So if you're watching this and you're like, I need to be able to do this, I've really been struggling with my relationship with food, I just can't even stop thinking about food, or I can't stop eating it, or I'm constantly having these overeating sessions, binge sessions, I want them to end, I don't feel good about it, then what I want you to do right now is send me a message and let me know that that's you. Once you've done that, we'll take the next steps in determining which of my programs or which ways I can support you that are going to be best for you. As I have a few different options, it didn't make sense for me to share them all here. I wanted to really get into the value and then let you guys know how we can potentially work together. So just shoot me a message if you're feeling inspired to do so. I'm really, really grateful for those of you who watched. If this resonated with you, please make sure to let me know, comment below your main takeaways, and go ahead and share it with anyone you think could benefit. With all that being said, I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're watching this video. Just make it awesome, and please make sure to follow, subscribe, like wherever you are watching this. Take the action that is most awesome for the platform. Thank you so much, and bye.